my voice to worship, oh my soul, rejoice. Take joy, my King, in what you hear. Let it be a sweet, sweet sound in your ear. Father God, as we begin Bible study this evening, guide our hearts and minds as we make our way to the development of life after death throughout the pages of both the Old, the Apocryphal, and the New Testament, that we may indeed be able to hear what you say, Lord Jesus, to your generation and what it means to us. Guide us, direct us to the fulfilling of your purpose, move us to where we need to be in our journey with you, that we may cling to you, the author and giver of our life, the pioneer and the perfecter of our faith, our Alpha and Omega, our beginning and our end. Help us to trust in you always. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. I want to start off tonight by drawing your attention to the development about life after death. Because in the pages of the Old Testament, it does not occur right away, but rather over many centuries, the children of Israel were able to capture the essence of what was involved in terms of this life after death. For many of them, once their family name was continued by their children and their children's children, they believed that that would suffice. And therefore, there's no big, long teaching about what happens after they bury Abraham, his wife Sarah, and all the others. Because as far as they were concerned, they would live on in their children and their offspring. So let's get that in our mind. That's the first thing. The next stage of development is this, that they believed that when people died, their souls went to Sheol, S-H-E-O-L. And Sheol was a shadowy existence that was under the earth. And I need to make some comments about it because there are some people who make some dreadful mistakes when they talk about Sheol. Everybody went to Sheol. Good, bad, righteous, indifferent, made no difference. Everybody ended up in Sheol. So again, you have to recognize the fact that they're developing their ideas about life after death. And some of it comes from encounters that they have. Remember when Samuel goes to the witch and he asks the witch to call up the spirit that he wants to see, which is the spirit of Samuel. Samuel asks the spirit, and he asks Saul, why are you troubling me? And Saul wants to know if he's going to gain the victory. And the amazing thing is that Samuel tells Saul, I don't have to worry. You are going to be joining me in this place tomorrow. In other words, you're so concerned about trying to get victory that you consulted the dead on behalf of the living. But the only place that can carry you is right into death itself. And so Saul's fate and destiny are sealed. So you're looking round about the 1200s, 950, around that period of BC. As time progressed, and people began to understand that there was an unseen world that was around them, then the whole concept of life after death began to develop even greater levels. And so by the time we get to the book of Daniel, which is written around about the 2nd century BC, they already have this concept that God will somehow have a special place for the righteous, and there's going to be an even harder place for the wicked to go to. Okay? There's going to be a division. And not only that, there's going to be some kind of resurrection where those who are being just will be rewarded, and those who are being wicked, they will receive their just deserts. Okay? By the time we get to the New Testament period, there's been a huge development, particularly, I'm really considering this summer whether I need to carry on to the Apocrypha, so you can understand why the books of the Apocrypha are so important for us in terms of understanding the transition between the Old Testament and the New. Again, I gotta pray about that because that's plenty. All right? I know what I go through in terms of trying to teach it for one term at the ATI program, and it ain't easy. It's a real push, a real pull. By the time we get to the Apocrypha, there are not only the dead who exist in this other world, but there are prayers that are made to them so that they can make prayers on behalf of those who are still here battling upon the face of the earth. When we get to the New Testament, Jesus begins to blow open this whole idea and this concept. And we see not just people being raised up from the dead, but it's obvious that Jesus is making a statement about what life will be like after we have left this world to go to the next. Even he himself, in John chapter 14, tells his people, he says, I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go, I will come again, so that I can take you to myself, so that where I am, there you may be also. And the New Testament begins to deal with life after death in two ways. There is a belief that some people will lie in the grave until the trumpet sound, and then the dead in Christ will rise first. They will go up to meet the Lord in the air, and those of us who are left behind will follow them. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. I think you need to write down that chapter so you never forget it. By the time you get to the book of Revelation, Revelation tells us that there are already saints of God in the heavenly courts. And their place is under the altar of God. And their prayers are being mixed with the incense that the angels are carrying in the midst of the heavenly courts worship. And we're given the impression that they are the ones who are praying for and encouraging those who are left on the face of this earth so that they can find their way home into the presence of God. Now, the unfortunate thing is that I don't even get the revelation because people have messed it up so much that we have some strange concepts of what life is going to be like. Is there going to be a judgment or is there not going to be a judgment? What's going to happen when the books are open and all the rest of it? I'm almost finished my book. So when it's finished, at least you all will get a glimpse at seeing how best to deal with the book of Revelation. And again, I thought that during the summer, that would be something good for us to do. So at least I'm able to lead you all through my book. Okay? Just make sure you put your money aside and purchase a copy. Alright? You may have only free books for you. Alright? Looks like it's going to be about $20. Okay? Alright? But we need to make sure that we get through that material because I need to dismantle a whole lot of false teaching that people may present with this particular time. So when we get to St. John's Gospel, chapter 11, and Jesus is now dealing with the death of his good friend Lazarus. Every sign that Jesus has done in St. John's Gospel has propelled his people to a deeper level of faith. In other words, unlike the other miracles in the Synoptic Gospels, St. John tells us these stories in great detail so that our faith may indeed grow beyond the normal acceptance of whatever facts we believe about life after death. And so we see Jesus literally taking his sweet time to get to death. And I want us to be able to watch the movement in the passage. Hear Jesus' frustration when he's dealing with Mary and Martha. Okay? They're telling him, yes, we know that you're from God, and we know God is waiting. Do what? Roll the stone away? Master, you know, stench. There's a stench. But that does not stop Jesus. And Jesus has to tell them and say that, didn't I tell you? So I want you to be able to see it as we make our way through the biblical text. If somebody is so kind enough to come read chapter 11 for us, which has been pending to be read in this church now for a couple of weeks. Lord, please hold the reins. We got to solve the problem with that running around the church street people. It's like stepping on the river between the Red Sea. Can someone come and read chapter 11?
Now a certain man was there, Lazarus of Bethany, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. Mary was the one who wanted to go and touch him on the feet with her hair. Her brother Lazarus was there. So the sister sent a message to Jesus. Lord, he whom you love is ill. But when Jesus heard it, he said, this illness does not lead to death, rather it is for God's good, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Accordingly, though Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, after having heard that Lazarus was dead, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Then after this he said to the disciples, "Let us go to Judea again." The disciples said to him, "Rabbi, the Jews are just now trying to stone you, and are you going there again?" Jesus answered, "Are there not 12 hours of daylight? Those who walk during the day do not stumble, because they see the light of this world. But those who walk at night stumble, because the light is not in them." After saying this, he told them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to awaken him." The disciples said to him, "Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he will be all right." Jesus, however, had been speaking of his death, but they thought that he was referring to his sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly, "Lazarus is dead. For your sake, I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him." Thomas, who was called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, "Let us also go that we may die with him." When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, some 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary and saw them before their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, while Mary stayed at home. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask of him." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha said to him, "I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will not die." "Do you believe this?" She said to him, "Yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world." When she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary and told her privately, "The teacher is here and is calling for you." And when she heard it, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come to the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. The Jews who were with her in the house, consoling her, saw Mary get up quickly and go out. They called her because they thought that she was going to return. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. He said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus began to weep. So the Jews said, "See how we love him?" But some of them said, could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept his mouth from dying?" Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, already there is a stench because he has been dead 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone, and Jesus looked upward and said, "Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so that they may believe what you said." When he had said this, he cried with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." Many of the Jews, therefore, who accompanied Mary had seen what Jesus did, some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what they had done. So the chief priests and the Pharisees called the meeting of the council and said, "What are we to do? This man is performing many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and the Romans will come and destroy both our whole place and our nation." But one of them, Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing at all. You do not understand. It's better for you to have one man die for the people than to have the whole nation destroyed." He did not say this on his own, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus was about to die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but to gather into one his first children of God. So from that day on, he planned to put him to death. Jesus therefore no longer walked about openly among the Jews, but went from there to a town called Ephraim, in the region where the wilderness, and he remained there with his disciples. Now the Passover of the Jews was near, and many went up from the country to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. They were looking for Jesus and were asking one another as they stood in the temple, "What do you think? Surely he will not come to the festival, will he?" Now the chief priests and the Pharisees had given orders that anyone who knew where Jesus was should let him know, so that they might arrest him. The word of the Lord.
You will note on the first part of your sheet that I put there a context that some people try to marry with chapters 11 and 12, which is the beginning of the feast of the Passover, when God rescued his people out of slavery, out of bondage of Egypt, and carried them through the Red Sea and put them on the pathway that led to the promised land. In a real sense, Jesus has come to carry out a new exodus, to carry humanity out of sin and death, so that we can go into life and experience what it is to be in that life of God as we move forward. And so that's the reason for that in our notes. That's page 1, part of page 2, out of the notes on your sheet. So please make sure you go through that. I don't want to prolong it this evening. Let me explain to you all something that's happened. We know that this is a family that Jesus obviously had great ties with, particularly Lazarus. And he had been invited to their home, and he had shared table fellowship with them constantly. And they knew that he would not be too far away. And so they sent word, telling him, "Your good friend is very ill. Come quickly to help." And Jesus intentionally delayed. I say intentional because I want you to understand something. The signs that we've seen up to this particular point, they are not done out of a sense of urgency. Let's get it right. They're being according to Jesus' timetable. Woman, it's not my hour yet. Remember he told his mother that? Before he changed the water to wine. How many loaves of bread you have? Even if we had 200 hours worth of bread to feed these people, how will we feed them? Again, he's not being pushed into doing what he's doing. Lord, who sinned? This man or his parents? Neither. This is to serve the greater glory of God. And I want you to understand that this becomes very difficult for people who are prosperity teachers because they cannot understand how prepared to face death. But what they need to understand is that Jesus is not operating on our timetable. We are operating on His. Let's get that straight here. And whatever He decides, we know it will serve the greater glory of God. It may not look like it now, but God has a way of using even the worst of situations to work out His plan and His purpose. And so Jesus continues His work in His ministry. And I want you to look at those opening verses because Jesus makes some statements that He says that this illness does not lead to death, rather, it will lead to the glory of God being revealed. So that the Son of Man may be glorified through whatever He is about to do, through this sign that He is about to carry out. So Martha and Mary are waiting, and unfortunately, if you start to calculate the days, it says Jesus waited for 2 days before He turned to His disciples and said, Lazarus fallen asleep. I have to go and wake him. He had died. So in fact, He didn't last the 4 days. They probably in the midst of studying the message, just seeing Him take His last breath for them to be able to hear when Jesus came and say that He there for 4 days. Look at His disciples. And again, I want you to recognize something. The disciples are the stumbling block for Jesus. Hello? Look carefully at verse 7. After He said to His disciples, let us go to Judea again, the disciples say to Him what? Rabbi, the Jews were just now trying to stone you, and are you going to go there again? Well, they're scared. And then you see the other thing that you got to be careful of too is for them, this was somebody they revered, this is somebody they loved, this is somebody who represented so much to them, and they did not want Him to stand in the pathway of danger. But they have to learn a lesson. And the lesson is, who's running the ship? Hello? Who's in charge? Who's making the calls? If Jesus says we go, if it goes down into the valley of the shadow of death, if it goes down into the battlefield, if it goes somewhere, people, it is Jesus who makes the final call. And it's not to ask the question, but Lord, we play it safe. When Benny Hinn was asked by an Anglican priest to come to Iraq in order to carry out healing services there, Benny Hinn asked the Anglican priest, is it safe? And the Anglican priest had to remind Benny Hinn, Christianity has never been about safety or comfort. Never. Jesus put you in some spots that only you and Him could sit down and, Lord, what in God's name do you do? Look what I told you. Why why am I going through this? But Jesus tells us we gotta go because we have something to do. They try to stop him. And Jesus says, and listen, hold on. We ain't sneaking, we ain't ducking, we're not dodging. We're not looking for darkness that will seal us. The day has 12 hours of light. And Jesus says we can make use of the light. When the darkness comes, that's when people stumble along the way and all things start to go wrong. And Jesus literally said to them, listen, we're doing this according to God's time. And we're going to do it in the light. So everybody can see. He says our friend Lazarus is fallen asleep. They don't realize he's trying to say that Lazarus is dead. And then they say, he finally says to them, okay, you don't seem to understand. You think he's going to wake up. Lazarus is dead. But look how pessimistic Thomas becomes. What does Thomas tell? Oh, Jesus. He died too. Yeah, so he could die too. He could kill him. He figured they kill you, Jesus. Lazarus done there. Might as well, let's all go around. You all might as well go around there. And that's what I find really shocking about Thomas, because some of us who only remember Thomas from John chapter 20, when he says, unless I see the Prince of the Universe. Thomas had his day. In chapter 14, you're going to see Thomas again raising some serious issues. Because he's a pessimist. He can't understand, but he says, let's go. Anyway, everybody, shall we all gather down the river there? That's all good. And so they set up. And then they finally get together. I want you to look carefully at the text. It says, when Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, some 2 miles away. And many of the Jews were coming to Martha and Mary. Okay? To console them, to lift them up. When Martha heard that Jesus was there, she slipped past the whole crowd. And she made sure she found Jesus. But look at the conversation between her and Jesus. She says to him in verse 20, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Verse 22, which is the first very sign of deeper faith. She says, but even now, I know that God will do what? If you would have your hearts in it. Jesus said to him, your brother will rise again. And she said, yeah. On the last day, at the general resurrection, when we all will rise and go up in the air to meet our Savior in the sky. And Jesus says to them, not dead, I am the resurrection. It's not I am the giver of the resurrection. I am the actual resurrection. And I am the actual life. That's what Jesus declares. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live, and everyone who lives and believes in me never die. Do you believe this? He said to him, yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world. Let's see if you'll pick a one.
She didn't think he
She's looking for the Messiah to come. She didn't even hear what he said when he said to her, I am. He doesn't say, I will be. He says, I am the resurrection. I'm the life. And she says, well, I know the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world. See what other fancy titles I can give to you. What's the problem here? Has she trusted in what he has just said to her?
Is he saying that he believes in the resurrection?
He's not saying that.
I am.
He says, I am. Not when he's telling what's going to happen to him. He is literally declaring that I am the resurrection and the life. And it carries you back to John chapter 1. John chapter 1, there's a contrast made between darkness and light, between chaos and order, between life and death. And Jesus, we are told, well, we're told John the Baptist is neither the light nor the life, but rather it is Jesus alone. He comes to his own, and his own does what? Receive him not. He came to the people, and they didn't listen to him. They didn't pay attention. But to as many as believed in him, gave him the power for them to become what? The sons and daughters of God. Okay? Hold on.
I don't think we record I am too. I don't think when he said it, I don't think we recorded right away.
I can say this to you all. Listen carefully. Listen carefully. The I am statements, when I started off going to St. John's Gospel, I told you that I am statement comes out of Exodus chapter 3,
Yeah.
which is the very name of God.
Yeah.
Now, hold on. Then he stands there and he makes the I am claims. I am the light. I am the door to the sheepfold. I am the good shepherd. I am. In other words, what he is basically doing is that he has to get the message across to them that listen, that God-given life, that God-given results that you're looking for, that God-given hope that you're trying to strive for, it's in me. I am.
I know what he mean. I understand. I understand where you're coming from.
Hold on. One more time. Huh? Yeah, and as far as she's concerned, I got a dead brother. I'm confused because you only show up, you show up now, the tears that you get ready to run down your eyes, and you tell me you know the resurrection, you know the life. I can't forget. The I am statement, the I am. Really, usually at that point, we're talking about stuff like are they or are not, or as long as just basically using the I am. That's what made the Jews so angry. See, Dennis, that's what made them so angry towards Jesus. Because Jesus was literally telling them, I am. And you get the message right, you know where I come from. I'm God. And I know that I came here to give people resurrection. And I came here to give them light. I came here to give them life. I came here to give them the bread of life. I came to give them the cup of salvation. I came here for everything that you need for this journey. Yes. No, listen. I am comes in Exodus. It means several things. It means, first of all, he, H-E. Secondly, I am that I am. In other words, I can't stop being what I am. I will always be what I am. Okay? The third way is interpreted, it literally means he who blows. In other words, he who gives life. Remember in Genesis chapter 2, makes and fashions man out of the clay, and then what does he do? Breathe into him the breath of life, and then man becomes a living soul. So it's only when God blows that breath into us that we become alive in Him. Okay? Hold on, let me just finish again. What is important for us to recognize is the fact that we've been reading in John's Gospel. You have to hold the whole Gospel in the back of your mind. So if I'm teaching, I gotta realize, Basil, you gotta make sure that you made all the connections from Genesis 1 right straight down to Genesis chapter, not Genesis, John chapter 1, right down to John chapter 1. Because it is important for them to see that the whole thing fits together as one big picture. Okay? The problem that you presented time and time again, and I was hoping you would have picked up on it, is the fact that you get to a stage in the text where you sit down and you say, why Jesus didn't make this thing a little easier? Why didn't he just break it down in simpler terms than for them, so they can understand, so they can comprehend? Let's go back so we'll understand why it's important to keep all this in mind. Let's start off, first of all, with the encounter with Nicodemus. Nicodemus, all we know that you are from God, we know that all the things you do, only God can be behind you. But I have news to you, Nicodemus. Unless you are born anew, I don't care how much you may sit on the sacramental council and feel you can reach the path. My brother, you lost. You need to start all over. What? I gotta do what? You have to be born again in things. Also, you tell the Gentile people, or you can tell them as a child of God that I gotta start all over again. And Jesus carries him through that text. You go back and read it. There's this conversation going back and forth as Jesus tries to clarify in Nicodemus' head what he's trying to get across to him. He said, aren't you teaching Israel? And shouldn't you know these things? If I tell you about earthly things and you can't believe, what's the sense of me trying to tell you about heavenly things? And the whole conversation goes on for that entire chapter. When we get to the woman, the Samaritan woman at the well, Jesus made one request, and the whole thing took some 50-something verses, or even more than that. But at the other point, how is it that you would choose to ask me, a Samaritan, that's a woman, to give you something to drink? And Jesus doesn't say that if you only knew who it was who was speaking to you. And then she decides, okay, we can play, let me sidetrack this whole conversation right now. You won't say we're supposed to worship on the mountain down there where Jerusalem is located. Our family says, you're up here, worshiping in the mountain. Jesus says, we and I worship there. Nothing. And he has to break it down. Every time she hits him with something new, every time she tries to throw him off course, he brings the conversation right back to where it is. Let me skip a little bit, a couple of pages. When I carry on to the story of the man born blind, the one thing you all told me is that everybody in the story was blind. You told me the man's parents were blind. The Jewish leadership was blind. I showed you the disciples were blind. The only one who can see in the picture is the one who Jesus, the man whose eyes had Jesus restored. The only one. And you go through phases through that entire story in order to come to that general conclusion. And the thing about it is that the man just got his sight and he was saying, I'm going to finally get in to the kingdom. I'm going to walk into the temple. And they said here, he has communicated with you and told you all right now. And they told him out. You remember that?
Yes.
Jesus goes on in St. John's Gospel, chapter 10. And he's trying to get the image across to them. Listen, if you are going to enter into the kingdom, it's got to be through me. So what's the first thing he says to them? I am the gate to the sheepfold. Okay? For the gate, you got to pass through the gate to get in. Down. Did you understand that? So he goes on and he says, you know what? I am the good shepherd. From Ezekiel chapter 34, who has come to rescue the sheep and to look after them. I am the good shepherd who comes to lay down his life for the sheep. So when you are in the wilderness, I build a hedge, a thorny hedge around, the sheep go in, and I lie across the door to provide protection for the sheep. In other words, I'm going to be your protector. I'm going to be your provider. I'm going to carry out the streams of living water. I'm going to make sure that the rivers will carry you away because the water gets more firm or pulled off by the stream. I'm going to carry you to pastures where you can eat. And I told you all before, sheep, dumb and stupid. Yeah? They will sit in the spot and eat every blade of grass. Then they'll start to eat the roots. And then they will start to eat what they drop. Those who love money. Oh, they're saying exactly. Exactly. They're saying rich. Exactly. And the thing is that you and I need to be able to see that every way, every step along the way, Jesus has to clarify that. It's like he says, I am the resurrection and life. And Martha, yes, Lord, I hear you. I know you coming into the world to make a difference. I know you can make a difference. But her faith hasn't grown enough for her to accept it.
My thing is, you might 2,000 years of Christianity
Uh-huh.
and like Tibet to understand what Jesus said. So, I mean, so we can't blame us for not fully understanding what he said right there.
Well, the problem is when it comes to understanding the scriptures, you know what my difficulty is? There are too many of us who unfortunately have a superficial understanding of the scriptures. And so we gloss over what may be important, rather than seeing the struggle that is coming out of this passage. Look carefully at what happens. Martha leaves Jesus. She does not ask for clarification. She does not ask for anything to be explained out. The only thing she can do is say, I need to get my sister. Because she probably sat at his feet long enough. He probably understands what he's trying to say. And so she breaks off, running, and she pulls her sister aside quietly, and she whispers to her sister. And her sister break off from the house, and they run to go and meet Jesus. The people who are there with them, moaning and groaning, said, oh, she's probably going off to the grave to meet again. And there are some people there at the house saying, she's going to the master who should be here to take care of man and to heal him and do what we thought he should have done based on our timetable. But you know what timetable is? God's timetable. Okay? And what makes me even more saddened by this story is that even when Jesus showed emotion, when Jesus began to
Cry.
weep and cry, there's some people, look at the text, people. Look at what they say. When Jesus saw her weeping and the Jews who came along with her, he was greatly disturbed in spirit. He said, where are you laid? They said to the Lord, come and see. Verse 35, Jesus began to weep. So the Jews said, see how he loved him? But some of them said, could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying? I know. The disciples have been around Jesus throughout. Yes, but there's always some disciples, but there was miracles, they had a negative about history. I want you to write this down so you never forget. So the very day of his ascension to heaven, there were disciples who doubted Jesus' words and his existence. Yeah. But for the others, I can understand that. But you approach him. Matthew chapter 28 tells us he appears on the mountain. Matthew 28, verse 16 and following says, he appeared on the mountain. He said, and some believed, and some doubted. They all had something negative that doesn't believe that he was going on. They had some objection to it. They were living throughout. Yeah, and then don't forget Mark chapter 16, where we are told that the sad part about it is that Mark probably is the most difficult one to read because Mark says all the way through chapter 16, even with the resurrection experience, the empty tomb, the appearance stories, they still doubted. They still doubted. There was some who unfortunately did not believe. And when you look at what happens when they go back to Jerusalem, and they're still hiding away in the upper room, it takes the Holy Spirit to set them on fire.
very reflective of human race in general.
Is reflective of the human race in general. Yeah, because we become very cynical, very, you don't know those nonchalant with regards to what Jesus came and what he does. And people sit down there and they're like, and the unfortunate thing is that we need to move beyond what I call normal faith to that deep-rooted trust in what Jesus is declaring to his generation and to us. That's why St. John's Gospel is written. So we can develop that deep-rooted faith and trust in him.
As a church father, we always read verse 35, short verse 35.
Yeah.
So, and that shows he was human.
Very human. He was both divine and both human. See, that's why he's so special. He knows everything about us. And just in case you don't think that that is applicable, you need to go back and read two passages from out of the epistle that most people avoid altogether. Hebrews chapter 2 and Hebrews chapter 4. And both passages of Hebrews tells us quite clearly that not only is Jesus divine, but he also is human. And he has been tested like us in every way. Hebrews chapter 2 and Hebrews chapter 4. And so we have someone who's able to sympathize with us because he can tell us, I've been here, done that. I know the challenges. I know what people face. He wept for 20 days that day. He wept for Martha and Mary. He wept for the crowd.
Because he knew that he said, I am the resurrection and the life. He knew what he was going to do. He knew what he was going to do again. So he didn't have to, he was crying what he was there. And it is because of that unbelief.
Of course.
Because all mankind, all you see yet you don't believe.
Yes.
So I think that's the
Yes. And not only that, but you're told one key word, the word disturbed. He was greatly disturbed in spirit. That's verse 34. Then you come down to verse 38, and the term is used again. Jesus again, greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. Okay? And so he is going through agonizing adjustments in terms of his own journey of having to deal with a whole bunch of people around him. And then what makes me understand what you're saying even more so is that Jesus begins to pray. And look at what he says he will. He tells him, take away the stone. Then he begins to raise objections. No, you speak yet. And Jesus said to them, did I not tell you? If you believe, you will see the glory of God. So they took away the stone after he started to run. Then Jesus looked upward and said, Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew you always heard me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd. Not for his sake. For the sake of the crowd. Standing here, so that they may believe and know that you sent me. And then he shouts, Lazarus, come out. And he fulfills the promise out of John chapter 5, where Jesus says, they will hear the voice, they will hear the voice of the Son of God, and they will be raised back to life. Okay? See, every chapter from this gospel forward is a general progression, and we have to be able to follow the theological argument. The problem is that we are just like that crowd. We want to have a thick skin and believe, hey, I don't understand that. And it's far more difficult. The mere fact that this dead man comes out, the same way they prepared the body, is the same way that he comes out of the grave. He says, let him go. Set him free. Release him. Take the burial clothes off of him. He's alive. Okay? I really wish I was there. Because you know why? I want to know who were the first set of people who marched up to Lazarus to touch somebody who was once dead and now is alive. Huh? What's that, Dennis? Okay, I'm take it off from Saturday. They're too terrified? Huh? You can't touch the dead because you're unclean. It makes you unclean. Hold on. Cross it.
The question that I have to do was after Sunday, because you're going to be home for 4 days.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to ask them something, but my point is this, that the same way, but don't forget Jesus himself, when he shows up, he always asks them, do you want anything to eat? And it's also proof that you're not dealing with some sort of guppy or zombie or whatever. That he is in fact the same person who died in the same body, who rose again because his body bears exactly the same marks. That's you. The thing is that you don't turn one away. You don't gone to one of the leading people in the Sanhedrin Council and converted him. You already gone down to Samaria and converted the whole village. You're coming back to Jerusalem, and a man who been sick for 38 years, who couldn't even answer the question when Jesus said, do you wish to be healed? And he started going on about how the chicken died and the cow rolled over and somebody stepped in before him. And yes or no? They watched him stand while the priest poured the water down the trenches. And he said to them, if anyone really thirsts, come to me. I'm the living water, and out of you will come streams of living water. In the night, when they're busy dancing around the drums inside the temple courtyard, rejoicing in the fire from the barrels that are on fire, the light shining down the city. And he says, oh, you think you got light here? Boy, you have me at the light of the entire world. So, my thing is, how do they speak all this, right? And yet they still Let me tell you, religious people are serious people. If they want to preserve their religion and they see you as a threat, but brother, you're wrong. I couldn't care less what good you could possibly do. As far as I'm concerned, you are rock the boat. Don't forget this man has already threatened their authority. He sat down in the temple, in the court of the Gentiles, and then he sat there and clapped the whole bit. And then he went on a rampage through the court of the Gentiles, overturning the money changers, chasing out those who sell pigeons and all the rest of it. And the priests were the ones who owned the animals that were being sold at a higher price. It was a racket. And so what happened is that you came in with your nice little lamb that you brought from the farm, and I look at you and say, you can't present that to the Lord. I got one across here for $100. I don't have $100. We better go scrap it up from somewhere. Because you ain't offering that one on the altar. In other words, when he disrupted the whole marketplace, from the day that happened, and I always tell people to write this down, whenever Christianity began to disturb people's pockets, they became violent. Look at the New Testament. Remember the girl who had the ability to tell a fortune, who was running after Paul and Silas. These are men of the great high God. They know, and Paul got fed up on it and said, in the name of Jesus, come on. And when her owners realized they couldn't make no more money out of her, Paul and Silas get their tail cut, thrown into prison, and while they're in prison, they started singing, and the Lord shaped the doors free. Remember that? Remember that story? And then those who worship the god of Artemis, okay, the Artemis of the Ephesians, the god of love, and you know the man there, he said to them, you see these Christians here? They're telling us that our gods are not real gods. And they're going to take away Artemis from us. So what happened? The whole city went into riot. And so when you go through the New Testament, you need to recognize that when Christianity touched people's pockets, there was bound to be trouble. Why? The Romans did not recognize Christianity as separate and apart from Judaism. They treated Christianity as though it was a sect of Judaism for quite some time. It is only later on when the church began to pull away from its Jewish roots that the Romans realized this was a religion separate and apart from Judaism. And then the persecution began to break out. And in many cases, because they were spreading so quickly in the Mediterranean region, it became important for the emperors to use Christianity as a means of scapegoat for some of the things they wanted to do. Take, for instance, Nero. I want you all to write this simple fact down so you'll never forget it. Out of the 16 emperors that they had in Rome, 14 of them were homosexuals. Okay? Nero and his wife Pompea or she used to bathe in young virgin boys' blood. Because she thought that would renew her skin and make her young again. And the sad part about it is that Nero burned down the whole city of Rome, and he blamed it on the Christians. And from that day go forward, they began to persecute Christianity. Yes. And so the more Christianity began to break away from the Jews. And then don't forget too, they were not just persecuted by Rome. The Jewish people themselves made sure they persecuted them. When Paul and Silas those came back to the synagogue and the place was jam-packed with people, and the Jews became jealous because people came to listen to Paul and Silas then, and not to them. They started to stir up trouble. Remember, they even stoned Paul, dragged him out of the city, left him for dead. And after a while, Paul got up, knocked the dust off himself, and went right back into the city. Crazy bunch of people. Utterly dedicated. You're laughing. What a different generation. But you see, one of the things that happened is that in order to preserve the power, that's what the rest of this reading is about. They are determined that it is far more easier for us to get rid of one person than for our nation to be led astray. And they set out to destroy an innocent person. We can't find a crime. We'll create a crime. We'll create charges. We'll do whatever it takes. And then we get to the emperor, we can lie to the emperor too. When it gets to the governor, we can lie to the governor too. But we'll get rid of this man because if he finds a man doing these things, we will be in trouble. And we're told that Jesus left and withdrew to a quiet place and prepared himself for the feast of the Passover, which begins in John 12. You have to say it loud enough, I cannot hear you. What do you do? Amazing. Love so amazing, love so loving. Find the man to my soul, my life, my home. And in accepting it, to ask for growth. Every chapter you all have gone through in St. John's Gospel has challenged you from where you used to be to where you need to be. So you will grasp hold of why this book is written. And that's why I tell people all the time, don't tell me no nonsense about once you get a grade 4 education, you will read to listen and understand, know why it's from. It's far more deeper than what meets the eye. Sorry?
Who pre-pastors don't understand. That's the reason why I said we will shortchange in our meeting. Because you're only close to people. Are you thinking that?
It is a must. We have to struggle with the text, people. You know? And the thing that bothers me is that the other thing that you say, that you have to be very careful of as a minister of the gospel, And that is, for God's sake, you don't give the sheep what they want. You give them what they need. Okay? Okay? I watch people get in pulpits and conduct seminars, and I'm wondering to myself, Jesus said, where did I come from? And the sad part about it is that we have watered down the Gospels so much so that it's hard for us to see the claims of Jesus in our life. You're on your way home. You're driving these crazy people on the street. Somebody will come out in front of you tonight. And are you able to say, Jesus, you still the resurrection, and you still the life. You still the resurrection, you still the life. And I'm going to keep trusting in you, no matter what. God give you glory. Father in heaven, let us go in tonight. Under your guidance, direction, and protection. Jesus, we've come full circle. We've seen you as light, life, as the one who provides, the one who feeds, the one who shelters, the one who cares, the one who renews, the one who saves, the one who rescues. You know each and every situation of every person, not only in this church tonight, but of all of your children. Even on this streaming process right now. Meet every need according to your riches and glory. And help them even while they're struggling to hear your voice and to trust you no matter what. Have your way, Jesus. You are the portal. We are the way. Have your way. Amen.